Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, this is BestInSlot, and in tonight's Jurassic World Evolution 2 analysis video, we're going to go back to those images we saw in the German magazine article from a couple of days ago, and we're going to go on a slightly deeper analysis of one section in particular, and that is the UI. We see lots of this UI, lots of this user interface across all of these screenshots, and there is a lot of really exciting potential information, new gameplay mechanics, a ton of different stuff lurking within the bowels of these UI images. So we're going to take a look at that tonight. Now before we dive right in, I will say the UI for Jurassic World Evolution 1 changed prior to release. It didn't change much, but those of us who were around at the time, you'll remember there was actually at some point a hunting stat as part of your dinosaur's overall comfort levels, and that was removed prior to release. So in essence, anything we see here today could be removed before the game comes out. I think most of that is pretty inbuilt into the game already at this point. I'd be surprised if there's big changes, but it's worth keeping in mind. We're going to start then with the Amargasaurus, and this is its overview image you can see here. This is like a general feeling of how your Amargasaurus is doing. So we can see it's a herbivore, it's not a penis, it's a herbivore, it's an alpha, and its current status, which is roaming. We also have this new piece of information here, which is a very quick look. Without going into the, this is your sort of territory habitat needs over here, without going even into there, we can see very quickly what is upsetting the Amargasaurus. Why is the comfort only 70%? It needs more ground fibre. So that's a very nice way to get a quick look at what your dinosaurs require to be a little bit happier. Comfort, health, food and water are unchanged from the previous game, although water we'll be coming back to on a different tab. Stamina is of course another brand new stat. My theory with stamina is that it will integrate both the new resting animation and the sleeping animations we had back in Evolution 1, and that is as your stamina drains for your dinosaurs when they just do things, generally speaking. You know, they're pottering around, eating, playing, getting hunted, hunting, blah 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 blah, that will drain their stamina. Now I think if they're able to rest, as in not sleep, but rest, we saw that with the Triceratops, that will begin to recover this bar. If it then gets down into the red, because they don't take that chance, or whatever gets in the way, then they'll be forced to go to sleep. They'll be exhausted, they'll be unable to do anything, they'll become easy prey when they're being hunted, and stuff like that. Security rating is also brand new, and we have to speculate a little bit on this one again because we don't have any other information. We can see our Amargasaurus' security rating level 2. What I'm hoping this means is that all the fences in the game have been prescribed a certain security level, and dinosaurs are incapable of breaking out of fences higher than their security level. So let's say it goes up to 5 and electrified concrete is a 5, Amargasaurus, no matter how upset, would never be able to break out and wreak havoc in your park. At the bottom of the same page we get our first look at the new time controls. You can see we've got pause, play, fast forward and super duper fast forward Sonic mode over here on the right hand side. We also have a budget, we have a star rating, and we have a menu button. And then we have another brand new button right here, and that looks something like this as far as I can tell. It is a upside down triangle with an exclamation point in the middle. Originally I thought this was a level system and that was a 1, but someone suggested on the Discord, and I really like this idea, that what we're looking at here is basically the new disaster system in effect. We know that certain maps will have certain disasters in Jurassic World Evolution 2. The only one we know of so far is the presence of snowstorms on the Taiga map, but maybe the desert map will have sandstorms, other ones will have tornadoes, maybe we'll have forest fires, who knows. The point is, the weather system and disasters are going to be a more direct part of the game than they were in Jurassic World Evolution 1. And this to me, with an upside down triangle and an exclamation point, looks very much like a warning symbol. And maybe a little bit of rain takes you to like here, and a storm takes you to here, and a full-on tornado or massive disaster takes you all the way up here. And that could have different effects on your park. Maybe dinosaurs freak out at different stages, maybe buildings break at different stages, stuff like that. Backing this up though is the fact that it is right next to the time controls. Now this was a fairly off the cuff remark in that first article we saw from Andrew Rayner, but it was mentioned that when your park is undergoing disaster, when there's a snowstorm or a sandstorm, which I'm making up by the way, but I'm speculating, or a tornado, then these time controls will be disabled. You won't be able to pause your game and control everything, you know, fix everything whilst disaster wreaks havoc around you. You have to play and handle it in real time. So these two being right next to each other would make a lot of sense. You can see as this bar begins to go up, you hit a certain point and that disables these tools on the left. So I think these two are definitely interlinked, I think these are definitely connected, and I'm 90% sure, pretty confident in saying that that's what this system is and that's what that UI element means. Very quick little image here, I just want to show that this one here says expanding territory. You'll remember the Amargasaurus said roaming, and you'll see it also here says missing forest. So again, last one missing ground fibre, this one missing forest. Just a nice easy way to tell what your dinosaur is doing and what it needs. Moving on to the Gallimimus, we get a much better look at the more detailed environmental and territorial needs of the dinosaur. And I've tried my best to get some text out of this. So first things first, we can see it's 74% comfortable. There's a little red arrow here going downwards, suggesting the dinosaur is currently losing comfort levels. So this little doohickey over here will begin chugga 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 in that direction. It is worth pointing out that the comfort bar, as you can see, has 1, 2, 3 sections this time. There's a gap there, splitting the white portion into 2. So your dinosaurs are no longer comfortable and uncomfortable, they're uncomfortable, comfortable, and super duper hyper mega comfortable. they're Snorlax comfortable, basically. If I had to guess, because we know Jurassic World Evolution 2 has a increased focus on dinosaur welfare and behaviour and looking after your dinosaurs, if you keep them in very, very high comfort, as in over here, maybe that gives them a star rating bonus, maybe that makes them worth more points. And that way, taking very good care of your dinosaurs is incentivized a little bit further than it was in Jurassic World Evolution 1. Lots more stuff down here. We have territory needs in this whole section here, so we'll go through that first. Here it says Ornithomimosauria, which is the wider grouping for our Gallimimus. We can see here it says, well, that's the alpha symbol. Here I think is the code for the dinosaur, so it's Gal 013. It's probably not 4, it's probably 013 or 012 or something like that. So it's like your 12th Gallimimus, just as in Jurassic World Evolution 1. Not totally sure what these little symbols are. They pop up a couple times and I've not quite figured it out. This I've also been working on as well. I think it says predation. I'm not sure. But this is all about the territory right here. So what I'm thinking is maybe, you can see there's like a little bar section over here, maybe that increases. And maybe what that's doing is telling us the amount of predation, amount of potential predator dinosaurs within the overall radius of the Gallimimus' current territory. It's really hard to tell. I couldn't make this text look any better. Kind of having to spitball this a little bit, but I think that's a decent shout. I think that's important information to have, so I wouldn't be surprised if it pops up somewhere. Below that we can see overlap. You can see it's got a red bar there, meaning if you've got too many territories overlapping at once, if too much of the territory overlaps with more, say that's like 40%, 35%, something like that, the Gallimimus will begin to freak out. It can overlap a little bit, but it needs its own space. We have the area below that, that's the current size of your Gallimimus territory, and that will increase and decrease as they move around and they find suitable areas. So I think this is about, in part, making sure there's an area large enough with enough suitable stuff throughout that area for the Gallimimus. Like, you can't have just a patch of everything the Gallimimus wants in a small circle, because then the territory will not encompass enough space, basically. You need to make sure it's got a wider area it can sort of graze and roam around in, essentially, is how I'm reading that. And below that we have social population, so you can see needs a minimum of, I don't know, 3, 4 dinosaurs, 5 dinosaurs, something like that, as per the first game. Two interesting things to note about this section. The first is that social population does not have a cap. Dinosaurs used to have a population max and a social max, and that social max is no longer there for our Gallimimus. And as you can see, population max is no longer there as well. There used to be a very set hard limit, wherein some dinosaurs couldn't have more than 8 total dinosaurs in their habitat, 10 total dinosaurs, 15, whatever. And it made some dinosaurs really annoying. It must be said, some, particularly like the Ankylosaurids, became really annoying to handle. That system is no longer necessary because we have the territory system. So basically, as long as your area is big enough that all your dinosaur groups can establish their own territory with their required amount of overlap, then you can have, in theory, as many dinosaurs as you want within a single exhibit. Now what I think this does is it massively increases the maximum size and maximum number of dinosaurs in exhibits, and it probably increases the minimum size your habitats have to be as well, if I had to guess. Especially when you want to mix and match your herbivores together, you're going to need larger exhibits than you did in Evolution 1. Below that we have environmental needs. We have water, so that is new. Of course, in the last game, your Spinosaurus, Suchomimus and Baryonyx, eventually they got a wetland stat. They needed a certain amount of water. Now it seems every dinosaur will require a certain amount of water. It's very low for the Gallimimus, as you would expect. They don't particularly thrive in that area. But it is interesting because other than your Spinosaurids, what would you associate a higher water need with? What would be really cool is if they've looked at the dig sites, or well, the habitats wherein these dinosaurs would be found, checked how much water would be in the area, and kind of go from there. So yeah, I'm curious about that one. It's interesting. And below that we once again have ground leaf and forest. I say once again ground leaf, that was grassland in the previous game, but now I think they've just renamed it the ground leaf, so that can encompass, yes, your grass, but because we've got so much new foliage now that counts as ground foliage, it would look silly to call it grassland when it's, you know, covered in shrubs or desert land or snowy alpine terrain, blah 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 blah. So ground leaf kind of is a more encompassing term, essentially. And we have one final new button at the bottom which says Edit Environment, which is pretty cool as well. It says just under the Edit Environment, Influence Comfort. So you can see there's a problem with the comfort here, particularly the ground leaf and the forest. You click the Edit Environment button and it takes you, I assume, straight away to your terrain tools so you can change things up and get things going. I'm wondering if it could even be more detailed than that, in that you click Edit Environment, it gives you your terrain tools, and then it also maybe highlights the territory that your Gallimimus lives in, or the enclosure it lives in, or something like that. Maybe it changes, maybe it's context dependent. Maybe if your Gallimimus needs a high level fence, it can change to represent that. Something like that. That seems like a push, but who knows. Or maybe if you don't have enough Gallimimuses in the social population, it changes to, you know, go to Hatchery, something like that. You know, go to Hatchery, influence comfort by making more Gallimimuses. Gallimimupodes. After that, we get a look at the new Hatchery, which has a really nice looking preview image over here, so hopefully that's going to show us our skins in a little bit more detail. Hopefully that means we'll also see them before we actually make the dinosaur. That's going to be a big deal. And again, this is one where I feel like a lot of the text here is pretty obvious to look at, so we'll go through the right first. Amargasaurus hatching, number of dinosaurs. We know that egg clutches are now going to be a thing. This is only one dinosaur. Comfort needs, so we've got security level, we've got ground foliage, we've got forest, we've got water, we've got social again, we've got release dinosaurs, and we've got release via airlift, which is the new remote hatchery option. So you no longer have to release all your dinosaurs just out of the hatchery into the habitat, but you can release via airlift and then drop them where you want them around your park, which is a humongous, beautiful upgrade that I'm very excited about. It was really... hatcheries are huge in this game, and it was really annoying having to make them in every single habitat. You don't have to do that anymore. Over on the left hand side we have our hatchery bays. We have two Amargasauruses, says ready to release, ready to release. This one is in white, this is in blue. I'm assuming that's because this is the one selected. We've then got multiple different statistics or little icons popping up around here. These are way too blurry to figure out what they say. I've got a new theory on this one, however. This got this like long white bar, and then there's an icon that sort of seems like it would move along said white bar. Now in theory it can't be a progress bar because both dinosaurs are ready to release. My theory is that this, and in turn these little symbols over here, are to do with the egg clutch system. And you can see we're hatching one dinosaur, but maybe you want to hatch more dinosaurs. I think you click this here and you drag it along, so that'd be 1, that would be 2, that would be 3 over there, and you'd select how many dinosaurs you want to release by moving this marker along your release bar, and I think the bar would fill in as well as you do get to 100% ready to release. That's my new theory. I don't know what else it would be. I don't see any other place to edit the clutch size, so I think this actually makes quite a lot of sense and would explain the presence of this little doohickey right here, which I haven't really seen a good explanation for anywhere else quite yet, so that's what I'm putting my money on for now. Briefly away onto the buildings, we got our very first look at the proper colour customization for the buildings, and if we bring this up you can see we've got, this is our secondary colouring and edit colouring for this, so you can see this counts as the secondary part of the building. Maybe this is the primary and the grey. You can choose the colour, you can edit colours, you know, we've got this lovely colour rectangle, we'll have to call it, and at the bottom, the best bit of this for me was the saved colours section. So I think this button here is the save button, And if you wanted to have a colour theme for your park or certain buildings, you could pick your green, pick your blue, save them into these spots here, and then when you go back to a different building, all those colours would be there already, and you could select them and pick from that same palette. So it's going to make it a lot easier to make nicely themed buildings, and we've got quite a lot of options. I think that's a really good idea, actually. I'm really a big fan of that one. Okay, just 2 more to go. We saw a staff building towards the end, and this one was one of the slightly harder ones to read, as you can see, but we think we've got this one nailed. Staff Centre 1, Staff Centre, so the top one is the name if you want to rename your Staff Centre, and below that's what the building is. It's currently operational, and this is our overview of what the Staff Centre does. Increases scientist hiring capacity and offers rest to counter burnout. On-site training can be used to increase scientist skills, and I'm assuming that's probably that button right there, or indeed down here at the bottom it says scientist management. That could be part of the training as well. We also have power required, how much energy does this system need, and the current level of storm protection afforded to the building. 0, nilch, nada. But this is a really interesting idea. This is management of our staff is something we really didn't do in Evolution. The closest we ever got to staff management really was telling your rangers where to go, or editing the number of staff members in any one building. But actually training your staff, increasing their skills, increasing how many staff members you can have by getting these buildings, giving your staff members somewhere to rest, to, let them chill a little bit, kind of like a staff room in Planet Zoo. Now I've seen loads of comments saying that this is very Planet Zoo-esque, but I kind of disagree with that. It's a staff room in a park builder game, it's kind of like a default thing anyway. I don't think this is Planet Zoo-esque, and I don't think it carries the same level, this is clearly still not going to be the same level of in-depth staff management you'd get in Planet Zoo, and nor do I think it should be. I think this is about the level Jurassic World Evolution 2 should be aiming for. What's interesting though is what on earth your scientists do. I don't know, maybe it's your research team. Maybe as you increase your staff numbers and you increase their talents and you give them somewhere to relax every now and again, it'll mean we can research things quicker. Maybe there's other things coming to the game that will rely more on having a good, strong staff system. I just really like it anyway. It's a little bit deeper management, probably not going over the top, but a little bit deeper. A facet that should be more of a focus, I think, in a park builder game without going over the top. And for the final image we have this one. Now this right here is very cool. This is our mobile vet unit building, and we're not going to pay much attention to it at all. It's great looking, we've got our little mobile vet unit vehicle here standing by. Really hoping that this large area at the back is used to actually store dinosaurs. I think it could be a helipad, I'm not sure. It definitely doesn't. It does kind of look like a H, but it could also be like a healing cross. My hope is that it's a dinosaur area. This time, like in Planet Zoo, if you take an animal to the vet, you can see them inside the vet building receiving treatment. That would be really cool. Fingers crossed, but we'll have to wait and see. What we're actually going to focus on though is this over here on the left. So this is your side UI, this is the main thing you use when building your park, I would say, and I've gone ahead and labelled this with what I'm 99% sure is the correct thing. So let's go through this one by one. Management is, opens up that big full screen menu where you can check on all your different stats and control things and send out dig teams and blah blah blah. Map is exactly what it says it is, it's your overview map. Systems view is, I didn't know what else to call it. It's that thing where you get like the circles, you can see your power, and you can see your comfort, and you can see your, your guest needs and stuff like that. We had that in Evolution 1. As we did for most of these. Operation buildings, that's your ranger stations, or your science, your staff buildings, and stuff like that. Enclosures is your fences, and last time it was your fence attractions. So enclosures, last time that was both fences and things that went on fences. So aviaries was part of that, but also like your viewing galleries and your viewing towers, they were all part of that enclosure thing. That seems to have been split into its own section, which I'll call attractions for now. You can see this is very clearly a viewing tower. So within that, you'd have your viewing tower, you'd have your truck tours and stuff like that. I think basically what it is that these two were the same thing in Evolution 1. They were encompassed together into enclosures, and now they've been split into two. But this does open the door a little bit more. For example, all the attractions we had in Evolution 1 were directly attached to fences. Your tour vehicles, your towers, your viewing gate building things. Vents, that's the word. But if we were to have attractions outside of that, maybe the aquarium and aviary count for that, who knows? Probably I'd put them in enclosures. but maybe, you know, just a pull from JPOG, something like a balloon tour, something that's not directly attached to an enclosure, it would make more sense. Either way, I think it makes more sense to split them anyway. You know, it's taking up a lot of room, and you have to scroll down quite far by the end, but yeah, it's a nice little change. Amenities, so that's your shops, basically. There's our terrain tools in green, there's our paths over there, there's our power, and then we have this one down here, decorations. Now this is again one we had last time. Last time the symbol was like a little, I think it was a little sign thingamajiggy. Remember in Return to Jurassic Park, we got the signs you could place, and we got lights and stuff like that. But the interesting thing about decorations isn't so much the presence of decorations. We knew they were part of the game now, but it's a decoration we haven't seen before. The symbol for decorations is quite clearly a fountain of some form. You can see it's a triple tier fountain, and it's got like a little bit of water sort of splaying off of the top. So this would seem to confirm fountains are going to be part of our decoration roster, and based on what we've seen, I think this decoration roster, is roster the word I want to use? What is now? I think this decoration roster is going to surprise people in just how much stuff it contains. We already know about quite a few. We've seen a decent handful. Below that we have another new one which looks like it's something to do with the veterinary system. There's a helicopter, there's a plus sign for, you know, probably the heal icon. I don't know why that wouldn't be part of your operation buildings though, is the only thing I'm curious about. Maybe they thought there was too many operation buildings already, they had to split them up. Maybe the vet system encompasses more buildings than we expected. I can only think of 2 right now, but maybe there's more than that. And then finally, of course, we have Demolish, which was red in Jurassic World Evolution 1 and is no longer red. I'm not sure why. I think it should be red. Demolish is a very scary button that you don't really want to hit by accident, so I don't know why they would remove the colour on that. It's very odd, because Power and Terrain were the other coloured ones in the first game, and they've kept their colour, but Demolish has been demoted. You know what, Demolish? I've got your back. There you go, buddy. Return to glory. Right. That took a surprisingly long time, but I think there is tons of great information here. Right, that's it from me. I've babbled on far too long, but thank you very much for joining me. If you appreciated this video and enjoyed it, and you're excited about some of these slightly nerdier factors of Evolution 2, shall we say, please do throw me a like down below. Super appreciated as always. And that's about it. Oh, if you didn't like the video, feel free to dislike it. There you go. Wholesome-ish. Thank you so much for joining me. I'll see you lovely folks tomorrow. Remember, 3 PM tomorrow UK time. There is a premiere of a developer diary. It's only 5 minutes long, but we're still going to stream it right here on the channel and react to it and talk about it, and then we'll do a video covering what's inside. Very excited about the possibilities. Think we're going to see some cool stuff. We'll have to wait and see. Come back then to find out. Thank you for joining me. Cheers, much love as always. Bye-bye.
Reaching out.